And I guess it's difficult when you're hit with tariffs, but I mean, that's a whole other issue. But
Those tariffs have been
it could well end
if
up in
I may,
it
because
could
look
end
at
in
the
an
foreign
economic
direct
war, though,
investment
couldn't it?
of
You said you didn't have a crystal ball to know what's going on inside the president's head, which is understandable. But we get a sort of sense, don't we, from this letter he sent to, or text to the Norwegian Prime Minister, suggesting he's threatening war because he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, it's the kind of thing a toddler would say, isn't it?
Well, that's what I think when I see these onesies, twosies, these soldiers that go to Greenland to give the middle finger to President Trump from our NATO allies.
So, in this clip, we are going to see a British journalist repeatedly expose Donald Trump's puppet Carla Sands for continuously spreading lies and misinformation, as well as disinformation about Donald Trump and his quest to try and conquer or acquire Greenland. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end. Let's get into it.
Well, joining me now is Carla Sands, who was the US ambassador to Denmark during President Trump's first term. She is now a key figure in the Trump-supporting America First Policy Institute. Carla Sands, do you know what is going on inside Donald Trump's head when it comes to Greenland?
Well, I certainly don't have a crystal ball to know what goes on in the president's head, but I can imagine that he is working to secure the Arctic, the Western Hemisphere on behalf of the American people and our allies, like those of you in the UK. And I will just say briefly, I really hope that your leadership will do what President Trump is doing for the United States in the UK and make the United Kingdom great again. There's so much opportunity in the UK, but you're struggling in so many ways.
And I guess it's difficult when you're hit with tariffs, but I mean, that's a whole other issue. Isn't what's going on here that Donald Trump's trying to add territory to America? It's empire building, isn't it?
Well, let's just go to tariffs for 1 second. These tariffs are to get a level playing field for American manufacturers and American makers, because Europe and the UK have generally had much higher tariffs on our goods than we had on theirs. So he's actually giving a chance again to American manufacturing to reindustrialize, which we hope the UK will reindustrialize as well. And those tariffs
it could well end up in it could end in an economic war, though, couldn't it?
Of trillions of dollars of new investment coming into the United States and rebuilding our economy after decades of really our middle class suffering, like the UK middle class has been suffering as well.
Okay, but we've got the prospect of a trade war here. We've got the prospect of Donald Trump threatening to invade a NATO ally. I mean, is he detached from reality?
He's well grounded in reality, the reality that our friend Denmark, an original NATO member country, will never be able to defend or develop Greenland. It's like owning a house that's too expensive for you. You can't afford to keep it up. You can't afford to take care of it. And people are breaking in. You have to sell it to someone who can afford it. And
but
that's what's happening here.
Denmark says it's quite able to look after its own backyard, and they should know, and it should be their decision, shouldn't it?
Well, but so I will share with you, they're not being honest with you. When I was the US ambassador, they had about 30 guys in Greenland and 2 dog sleds. And this is the world's largest island, 1/3 the size of the continental US, with not enough knowledge of what's above, on, and below the seas, the giant seas. This is the GI-UK gap. Greenland, Iceland, and the Faroe Islands are really near your Shetland Islands. And Denmark has not a chance. They just don't have the resources. You have to understand, they're not capable of taking care of this asset. They're not capable of developing it on behalf of the Greenlandic people, which have told me to my face, if the US doesn't invest in us, we'll go to China. Money has no color. So they don't have the wisdom to understand what is a safe investment and what is an unsafe investment.
You said you didn't have a crystal ball to know what's going on inside the president's head, which is understandable. But we get a sort of sense, don't we, from this letter he sent to, or text to the Norwegian Prime Minister, suggesting he's threatening war because he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, it's that kind of thing a toddler would say, isn't it?
Well, that's what I think when I see these onesies, twosies, these soldiers that go to Greenland to give the middle finger to President Trump from our NATO allies, countries that send 1 soldier or 5 soldiers. What are they thinking? Why wouldn't they say, how can we work with you, President Trump? And as for the Prime Minister of Denmark, she never picked up the phone and called the president for a whole year. And instead, she went behind his back to try to get help from, heads of state who still aren't capable of defending their own territories.
You know, Donald Trump wanted the Peace Prize. He's clearly very put out that he hasn't got it. So why on earth does he then invite one of the biggest warmongers of this century, President Putin, onto his so-called board of peace? It's madness, isn't it?
Well, I think it's kind of brilliant. I like the idea of bringing together a team. Once you have someone like a Vladimir Putin in the room, he's going to be working with allies instead of hugging up to China. China is an existential threat to absolutely our alliance. It's not Russia. Russia has an economy. I mean, it's like one of our medium-sized states in the United States. They
But
don't have
Belarus, Kazakhstan, I mean, a bunch of autocrats. What have they got to say about peace?
Well, Kazakhstan is coming to the West rather than turning to the East, rather than turning to the Chinese Communist Party. We're now doing energy deals with Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is going to help to supply Europe with energy, not Russia. That's a win. But if you look at what President Trump is trying to achieve in the Western Hemisphere, what he did, the magnificent outcome in Venezuela, and that blocks China from getting, they were getting 65 to 80% of the Venezuelan oil. What he's doing with Iran, Iran is supplying most of the Iranian oil goes at a discount to China.
Right.
So this is geopolitical stuff. And we need our allies in NATO to come alongside and say, how can we work with you, President Trump? We are with you. We understand you are trying to get us in a more safe situation, both the United States and our European allies.
Carla Sands, thank you very much for joining me.
Honestly, Carla Sands repeatedly just humiliates herself when she comes on UK television. This is a woman who will say absolutely anything that Donald Trump wants her to say simply so that she can run back to Donald Trump and say, Daddy, was that good enough for you? Was that good enough for you? As Jesse Waters says, the absolute scumbag on Fox News, Daddy has needs. And Carla Sands delivers those needs for him. Like so many of the things that it is that she just said is absolutely ridiculous. And I just love the way that she repeatedly dodged the question that it is that the British journalist repeatedly asked her. You see, she literally said something. The journalist said something to her about this is child's play, what Donald Trump is doing. And her response was, oh, so is what Europe is doing, sending 1 and 2 soldiers. Number 1, it's not 1 and 2 soldiers. And then number 2, them sending soldiers just to send a message, just to let it be known that, listen, Greenland is not going to be taken by force. That's not child's play. That's standing up to a big bully like Donald Trump. And guess what? The tactics and the child play that you want to say. It's worked thus far because Donald Trump is the person who turned around, and he's the one who backed down in the end. So you can say it's child's play all she wants to. But the reality is it worked. It did. Like this is someone Cara. She repeatedly spreads disinformation, Speaking about Denmark and the fact that when she was the U.S. ambassador to Denmark, the Danish people don't even like her, because she didn't even spend enough time being able to be willing to get to know the Danish people and know anything about their culture. They repeatedly made fun of her, and she had something like a 2% approval rating when she was the U.S. ambassador to Denmark. She's honestly just humiliating herself. And I consistently say when it comes to MAGA and how it is that they will bend over backwards, bend themselves into pretzels to try and defend Donald Trump. One of the things that you have to understand is this. It's a humiliation ritual because these guys do not mind consistently embarrassing themselves just to try and appease Donald Trump and get the thumbs up from Daddy Trump. These guys are genuinely embarrassing. So is Carla Sands. A lot of the things that it is that she said in this interview was just absolute stupidness. But we shouldn't be surprised in any way, shape, or form because that is Donald Trump and MAGA's puppet, Carla Sands. And this is what it is that she repeatedly does. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this exchange down in the comment section below. And when you guys are down there, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button as well. Appreciate you guys. I'm looking forward to seeing your guys' opinion. See you guys in the next one.